think my greatest artistic achievement is simply becoming an artist, because it's something that I want to do for a very long time, and it took me many, many years to just build up the confidence and take that leap to do it. I was always quite creative as a child. I think that's kind of where it all began, doing lots of colouring in, lots of craft projects, and then art at school, which I really, really loved. Sort of discovering artists in the world of art, and doing a lot of art classes. I did some art classes outside of school as well. Then it was time to go to university, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to do art or not. My mum, sort of rightly so, like a lot of parents do, convinced me to do something that would end up with a job afterwards. So, and I really liked the theatre, so I decided to do theatre design at university, and I really enjoyed that. That really taught me to think, a lot more creatively. Really opened my mind up to thinking artistically, which I really, really loved. Yeah, my work's changed on two levels. On a much broader level, the first round of attempting to be an artist back in my early 20s, before I got into TV, I was very much using bits of wood, pieces of furniture, stuff that I'd find on the street that people would leave out for the council to pick up back in Sydney. So the wood had a real weathered nature to it because of the sun. And they were very big sculptural pieces. But then, I got into TV and moved to the UK and sort of put art to the side. So as the years went on, I then picked it up again, but I wanted a different style. That's where I find myself now. I experimented for some time, but moved towards this sort of contemporary collage idea, using paper from the past and chopping that up, pieces of paper. So that's the first way it's changed. And then since I've been practicing art now properly for the past 4 or 5 years with this style of work, it's changed on a couple of levels. One, I've gotten a lot bigger. So my work was a lot smaller before. Now I'm working on this bigger scale generally. This is a smaller one here, but then these things like this are a lot bigger. Also the addition of paint. So initially I was just using the collage materials, but now I've sort of wanted to get my hand involved a bit more and add colour and just use a paintbrush. So adding paint with the collage materials, that's the way it's changed. I get inspiration from a lot of different areas in life, obviously other art, design, architecture, seeing new things, travelling. I think, to sum everything up in one word, it would just be discovery, discovering new things. And that could be something as simple as, discovering a new building just around the corner from here that I really find inspiring, a new culture when you go travelling, or, a new artist at an exhibition you come across. And a lot of Australian artists of the 20th century really inspire me because, at school we studied, it was heavy focus on Australian artists. So there's people like Colin Lansley, Rosalie Gascoigne, Geoffrey Smart, John Brack. They're a big influence on me. But then more current day artists that I really find inspiring would be people like Damien Hirst, Julie Coburn. I love her, she's a great inspiration. Sophie Smallhorn, she's fantastic. Well, I really like this one actually, that's next to me, this one with the stamps. I've done quite a few stamp pieces, and this one was a lot more involved because I really thought about the colour palette I was going to be using, so I had to collect certain stamps and certain colours and really sort of do a lot of research to find those pieces. But I really like the way it's turned out, and I really like the colours, so that's a good one for me. It's one of the first pieces I've done that involves paint on the canvas combined with the collage elements. So that's something new that I'm exploring at the moment, and they are cut directly from magazine covers from the 50s, and they're sort of DIY, domestic magazine. Yeah, this particular magazine was called Homemaker, so it's a British magazine. Yeah, just, DIY magazine at the time. Everything hand-drawn on the cover and throughout the magazine, which I love, which obviously you don't get today. I have to connect to the materials that I find, so there's that process of hunting for this stuff and collecting it in flea markets and charity shops and car boot sales, which I really love. And I primarily find stuff around the 50s, mid-century stuff. There's just something about the design of that era, the hand-drawn nature of the graphics, the colours that we used back then. I'm really drawn to, and you know, I wonder why I'm drawn to them. I think partly it's because of my grandparents. So my grandparents were both teachers, and they were kind of hoarders as well. So when we were growing up at their and hanging out at their house, they have a lot of old teaching material, you know, from the 50s hanging around, and it was, you know, very graphic and all these colours. So I think I relate to it for that reason. That's part of it. I just generally love it. So yeah, it's about the first step with any of my artwork. It's finding materials. That's where it all begins. Hunting around, finding something that speaks to me, and after that, I then think of a concept. You know, the materials will kind of dictate what I'm going to do to some degree. So I've got to think of a concept to use them. And once I've sketched some rough ideas and come up with an idea with a concept that I'm happy with, it's then, you know, very methodical, my process. You know, my work's very organised and precise, so that's kind of the way I work. So I'll write a very detailed list of step by step what I need to do to achieve the end result, and then I work through that process. So the first thing would be to draw up a stencil on card. So I draw a stencil the size it's going to turn out, and then cut out all the shapes, like here, like this kind of thing, so that everything's precise. Then I prepare the backboard, so I use aluminium in lined foam board, so it's really stiff. I'll then paint canvas, glue canvas onto the board, then lay the stencil over the top, and then start you know, compiling all the components together so they can be, firstly, you know, cutting up the materials, cutting up the collage materials, and then gluing them down in the places they're supposed to be. I'll also add some little pieces of coloured wood sometimes, so there's got to be spaces on the stencil for that. And then the new work that I'm doing has these painted areas, so again there'll be a space in the stencil for that. So I'll draw that onto the canvas with pencil first, then mask it off, and then paint those areas. So it's all very methodical, and you know, because I want this precision as the end result, you know, I've got to follow these steps to get to that. When Roy's first started, various artists I knew were applied to do it, and I went along and saw them and saw the fair. So that's how I found out about it, and you know, it made me want to give it a go. Slightly different to other art fairs I've been doing, and you know, it was just good to have another art fair on the London scene that you could get involved with on a different level in a different venue. I would definitely recommend Roy's. They're great venues, the guys that run it are really, really good, it's well organised and you get a lot of footfall, so definitely consider doing it. And I've got two pieces of advice for first timers. The first one of those is to practice talking about your work. I think it's important. A lot of artists can shy away from that. You've got to practice talking confidently about your work, because you'll be talking to a lot of people for many hours about it. And also just very simply to get lots of rest before the fair, because you'll be on your feet all day and you'll be talking to a lot of people, as I said, coming and going throughout the day, so you want to appear fresh and enthusiastic for each person.